If you've been thinking about selling your house this year, and now you're looking at the calendar and wondering, did I miss it? With school starting, summer winding down, and fall just around the corner, you're asking yourself, should I put my house on the market now or wait until the spring of 2027? That's actually a really good question, and today we're going to walk through a house here in Stacy, Minnesota. We're going to talk through how to answer that question from a local perspective and let you know what's actually happening in our market right now. You know, the first thing homeowners need to understand is that this is not the market we had 3 or 4 years ago. Buyers have more choices today. According to the latest Minnesota Realtor numbers, the number of homes for sale in Minnesota is up from about 9% from last year. And with that said, the fact that inventory has reached a higher level since the last 7 years, sellers hear that and sometimes they immediately think, well, that's bad news, right? And that's not necessarily bad news, because at the very same time that inventory went up, closed sales across Minnesota were up more than 11% compared with last year. So buyers are buying. They're just shopping differently. They're taking more time. They're comparing one home against another. They're paying more attention to condition. They're paying more attention to price. And they're much more willing to say, nope, that's not the right one. And they'll move on to the next property. We actually have a buyer that's walking around with a spreadsheet to compare different prices, conditions, value. It's all about the value. As we walk through this home here, get the lights all turned on. I'm going to close that here. Get these lights turned on for you here. And this is where a house like this one I'm walking through today becomes a really good example. When buyers walk through that front door, they're immediately starting to make comparisons. We got some lights in here too. They're comparing how the house feels and how does it compare with the one they saw yesterday. Does it have a walkout patio level? Does it have 3 bedrooms on one level? How are the windows? How are the doors? How is it maintained? Does it feel clean? How old is the furnace? How old is the water heater? And then the overall price, how does that compare with everything else that's available? A few years ago, buyers had almost nothing to choose from. And here you've got a nice big fenced backyard, city land in the back. Oh, and look at the apples on the tree there. Minnesota currently has roughly 3.5 months of housing inventory. We're still not flooded with homes, but buyers definitely have more choices. So if you're thinking about selling, your home needs to compete based on value. And check out this 3-car garage. Let me get the light on in here too. There we go. There's a lot of space in there. Some people ask me, Chelsea, did I miss the market? You know, I kind of say sometimes you may have missed the spring market, but you didn't miss the real estate market in its entirety. Buyers are still buying. They still need a place to live. Some are getting transferred. Families are growing. People are getting married, getting divorced, retiring, lots of retirees these days. People wanting acreage or maybe even changing school districts. Sometimes people need to move closer to work because real estate really doesn't stop because the calendar says it's September. Then we have interest rates. This is probably the other big reason homeowners tell me they want to wait. They'll say, I'll sell when the rates come down. But here's my question. What rate are you waiting for? The average 30-year mortgage rate was about 6.65 last week. Could rates come down? Absolutely. Could they stay where they are? Absolutely. Could they move higher again? They absolutely could. So here's the bigger question I would ask is, why are you thinking about selling? Are you no longer fitting your house properly? Maybe you want to cash out and use the money to buy something else. whatever that driving factor is, that is going to be the biggest piece of whether you should sell or not. Because ultimately, the home sale, the property sale, whatever it is really a vehicle to help you achieve your next step, your next phase in life. You don't want to put that on hold. That is a big question to answer. The next question to answer would be, what kind of home are you selling? What property, home, acreage? I mean, it could be a $350,000 starter home like the one we're in today, or you could be selling a lakefront property or acreage, or maybe it's a townhome market. So it's really going to be different what you're selling when it comes to how the market is reacting and responding, because from Forest Lake to North Branch to Stacy to Chisago and anywhere in between, the market is going to be different based on the product or the home that you make available for sale. So when people tell me that they hear the market is falling, or it's a bad time to sell, or even a great time to sell, the question is always, well, what are you selling? And that will really help answer that question. And the next question I like to ask is, are you really willing to price your home or your property for today's market? You know, we can't compare ourselves to a home that sold 2022. That would be 4 years ago. Much like we can't even compare it to what someone told me my house was worth 6 months ago, because the market is always changing. What is the buyer ready, willing, and able to pay for your product and your home in today's market? And what other choices do they have? The good news is Minnesota home buyers right now are paying really close to asking price for the homes that they are purchasing. It's the stats right now are like 98% to asking price. That's for the sellers that are pricing fair and accordingly to market price. If you're pricing too high with the idea of always coming down later, that's really going to bite you in the butt, because those first 2 weeks is when you're going to make your best first impression, and that's when the buyers are most attentive. So pricing well and pricing accurately for the market that you're in is the best way to move forward. And pricing isn't the only thing buyers are comparing. Really, they're comparing condition, they're comparing kitchens for sure, flooring, mechanicals, they're looking at the roof, especially with the insurance companies these days. We need to make sure the roof is younger. They're looking at windows. Windows are expensive. They're looking at the yard, and they're kind of calculating, what am I going to have to spend after I buy this? That doesn't mean that you have to remodel your whole house before selling it. Absolutely not. Please don't do that without talking to someone first. Sometimes the best preparation is simply paint. Sometimes it's decluttering or landscaping. Sometimes it's fixing 3 small things that you've walked past every day for the last 5 years of your life. And sometimes we don't need to do much of anything. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is making sure your house competes well against the other homes that buyers will see. There are definitely people that I would tell need to wait until spring. Absolutely. If your home needs significant work and rushing in onto the market means you're going to leave money on the table, then I say wait. Let's get those projects done first. If you don't know where you're going next, maybe wait. If selling right now creates a financial problem instead of solving one, then wait. And if the particular market for your type of property is significantly stronger at another time of year, that's something we should talk about as well. But I wouldn't wait just because somebody told you nobody buys houses after Labor Day. That's simply not true. So it is not too late to sell your home in Minnesota for 2026. No, it is not. But the strategy matters more today than it did a few years ago. Buyers have more choices, they have more time, they're negotiating more, and they're paying attention to price and condition, but they are still buying. So instead of asking, did I miss the market, I'd ask these 3 questions. Why are you moving? What does the market look like for the type of home you're ready to sell? And is your home in a presentable condition for today's buyer? With that, lining up those 3 things, there may be absolutely no reason to wait until spring. And if you're somewhere around Forest Lake, Stacy, North Branch, Chisago Lake, or one of the surrounding communities, and you're wrestling with that exact question, reach out. We can look at your specific house, your competition, and your goals, and determine whether selling now or waiting actually makes sense for you, because there isn't one right answer for every homeowner. There is a right answer for your situation. Call me. Very fluctuates all the time. It's a living, breathing object in a way. Stop. There's divorce, there's weddings, there's new births. I mean, family, life, things are still happening. Did I miss it? Spring is right around the shit.
Yeah.
School is starting, summer is winding down, as fall is just right around the corner. And maybe you're wondering, should I put my house on the market now, or should I wait until spring of 2027? And that's really an interesting question. Today we're going to walk through a home here in Stacy, Minnesota, and while we do that, we're going to talk through what's actually happening in the market right now. So come on in. So if you've been thinking about selling your house this year and looking at the calendar and wondering, did I miss it?